Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Main Street Finance YouTube channel. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you know last week we started talking about 401ks and investments, and we're going to be talking about savings for the next couple weeks. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a YouTube video to go ahead and explain some compound interest and give you guys a resource that you can use to be able to accurately calculate what you're going to want to be able to put away so that you can have a certain dollar amount later. So, of course, we're going to go into our spreadsheet app. And as you can see here, we have the budgeting spreadsheet that we made in a previous video. And what I've done here is I've made a new spreadsheet that we can go ahead and play with. So let's go ahead and click on compound interest. And I wanted to make this really simple and give it to you as a resource. So everything here is kind of color-coded, but the only thing you really need to know is that these yellows are going to be the only ones you're going to want to play with. Everything else here, there's a calculation in it. Let me go ahead and just click on a few. So all of these have calculations in it, so you do not want to touch any of these. The only ones you need to play with are those four, and maybe that fifth one just because I just highlighted it accidentally. So what is compound interest? What compound interest is you put in a certain amount of money to either a savings account, a CD, a bond, investment, something that generates a return. You get a return, but you keep going, sort of like a you let it ride at the casino. So you put in $100 to earn a 10% return. So you put in $100, you earn 10. Well, you don't pull that money out. So, or let's say you decide you don't want to pull that money out. So now you have $110, so that when you earn your 10%, now instead of earning $10, you earn $11. And that extra dollar that you got was because you had an extra $10 in the account. So it's your interest earning interest. So let's go ahead and play with that real quick. So we're going to have our interest rate at 10% just because that's easy to understand. Our number of compounds per year, that's how many times interest is applied in a 1 year period. So we're going to keep things simple and we're going to have this set to 1. And then this payments is if you add more money throughout the year. So instead of starting with $100 and not adding anything, maybe you put in $100 per month. So that's what this fourth field is. So let's go ahead and let's assume 10%, and then we're just going to put in $100. And then before we do that, we have our 3 rows here. So balance, and the reason that one's bolded, that's what you're going to have. That's going to be the balance in your account after these time periods. Contributions is going to be what you put in. So that's going to be your starting amount that you put in plus the amount of payments you put in per month or per however many periods. So we're going to start this simple and we're going to keep going. So it's your balance and then the spread between what you put in and then the interest that you earned. So let's go ahead and do a quick example here. So let's say you put in $100 once and that's it. You never put in any other money. So after 1 year, we earn our 10%. You put in 100 and then you earn 10. So then you roll into the next year. So you had 110 and then on that 110, you still only contributed $100. You didn't put in anything else. So your 110 turns into 121. So you earn 10 and then you earn that extra dollar on the 10 that you originally had. Let's go 1 more year. So we still had $100. But now we have 133 because you're earning more and more money each year because you have more money in the account because it's previous interest that you've earned. Now, if we fast forward a little bit, let's say you put in it's that same $100 that you put in day 1. If you leave that in for 40 years, you end up with $4,500. And that's really the magic of compound interest. The higher the interest rate and the farther you go out, the more money you end up having. So let's do one more example here. So let's say you have $100 and then you're able to save an extra $10 a month. So what we're going to do is, actually, let's do this one first. So we're going to change this to 12. And so what this is number of times you're putting in a payment per year. So if we're doing it monthly, there's 12 in a year, so we're going to put that as 12. If you were going to do it twice a year, you would just do 2, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do here is we're going to switch this up. And let's say that we put in $10 a month And so what this is we put in $100, and then each month we put in an additional 10. January we put in $10. February we put in $10, so on and so forth. So at the end of year one, you have $237 because you put in $100 initially and then $10 per month. So 10 times 12, it's $120 plus the original $100, $220. So at the end of year one, you're in 17 and 48, 96. And then what you're going to discover is the farther out you go, there's eventually a crossover point to where half your money is interest, half of your money is principal. And it looks like it's between year 10 and 15 that balance shifts. And then you just keep earning money on money on money. So after 40 years, you've only put in just under $5,000, but you ended up with $64,000. So I wanted to make this video nice and sweet. I didn't want to go and do too much here and turn it into a 30-minute explanation. But this is just a short description of how you can use this to calculate if I put in X amount of money per month at this interest rate in either a savings account, a CD, a bond, whatever. Here's a way that you can see how quickly your money grows and how much you'll have after a certain amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post this spreadsheet so that you guys have access to it. So that link is going to be in the description. If you have any other kinds of videos or spreadsheets you would like me to make for you guys, feel free to leave a comment, send me an email. That address is also going to be in the description. And thank y'all for joining me on this trip to Wall Street.